Assalamu alaikum, this is Sarisawa. Every Thursday at 12 p.m, join me right here on Radio Dawn for The Inner Journey, a space where faith meets healing and science meets the soul. As a hypnotherapist and a life coach, I'll take you through powerful conversations, reflections, and tools to help you overcome challenges, find balance, and reconnect with your true self. So tune in every Thursday at 12 p.m. for The Inner Journey. With me, Sarisawa, only on Radio Dawn. Your community, your voice, your connections. Assalamu alaikum dear brothers and sisters, and welcome back to Radio Dawn 107.6 FM. You're tuned into The Inner Journey show with me, your host Sarisawa. I am hypnotherapist and life coach. We go through this journey every Thursday at 12 p.m. The whole purpose of this show is to bring mental health and well-being awareness to our community, because as we all know, mental health still is something in our community that we don't like to talk about. So every week we go through different ways to understand ourselves better so we can live better, healthier and meaningful lives. Today's topic is a very important and sensitive topic: gambling and mental health. For people who are affected by it or know who are affected by it, just know that help is available. And therefore, we have got a guest today who will be able to come and tell us a bit more about what kind of support and help is available in Nottingham for people who are affected by this issue. I have Bryony Cornish. She is Public Health Manager at Nottingham City Council. And then I have Claire Hannah. She is the Project Lead at Time Out Gambling Recovery Project. And finally, I have Manjit Bajwa, Lead Operation Manager at Al Hurriya. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. So thank you all for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. So we go with the technical side of it, first of all, with Bryony. Bryony, tell me a bit more about public health.
So public health is all about helping people to live long, healthy lives. So we often describe public health as being both a science and an art. So it's all about trying to work with communities to help them improve their health and also to protect their health. And that's at a local level here in Nottingham, but also at more regional and national and global levels as well. We've got a really strong focus on helping to tackle health inequalities, where certain population groups might experience poorer health or have worse health outcomes than the general population. And that part of work really includes our efforts to tackle gambling harm and to help people access support and help if they're experiencing gambling harm.
Thank you. And what would you say about the inclusion health?
So inclusion health is my portfolio of work, and that's where gambling harm sort of fits in with the public health work to tackle health inequalities. And that really is about supporting our most vulnerable groups in the city, those that experience lots of overlapping risk factors for poor health. So things like mental health, drug and alcohol use, homelessness, gambling harm, all issues that affect our population in Nottingham City, and our work is about how we support them and help them to improve their health.
Thank you. And what would you say, is there any sort of strategy, would you say, for related to gambling and harm?
Yeah, so in Nottingham City we have a gambling related harm strategy, and that explains how we will work to prevent and reduce harm caused by gambling in Nottingham, and that involves lots of different pieces of work. So some is around working with our licensing colleagues in the council to enhance sort of the powers around regulatory safeguards about gambling harm, but also things like raising awareness of gambling harm amongst sort of the public, but also professionals who might come into contact with people that are vulnerable to gambling harm, and making sure that the support pathways are in place to help them.
Absolutely. And I believe that when you say the professional, that means that even if people are professionally at work or doing the job, and if they can pick up something or they see, they know what to do actually and how to support them. Brilliant.
Yeah, so community leaders, health and care professionals, anyone who might come into contact with somebody who might experience gambling harm, it's about helping them to know how to identify that and then where to signpost them for help and support.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. And next one, I will go to Manjit. Tell us, actually, is the Claire first we'll talk about. Claire, tell us about Double Impact.
Yeah, hi guys. So Double Impact's been going for 26 years, I think, nearly. So it's a Nottingham-based charity that supports people in recovery from drug and alcohol addiction. So we offer loads of different things, whether that's ongoing recovery support, education, peer support, volunteering, or employment opportunities. So yeah, that's Double Impact. So Time Out is a project within Double Impact, and that's a face-to-face gambling recovery service. So again, we provide one-to-one support, ongoing recovery support for people that's struggling with gambling. So that includes kind of supporting them with self-exclusion tools, and how they can access those on their phones and devices to support them. Ongoing emotional support, and just helping them along their journey, really.
All right, thank you. So what my understanding is the so the Double Impact is a charity, I believe, the organization. And the Time Out is a project within the organization that actually focus on the gambling.
It is.
Thank you for that. And again, we'll come back to Manjit. Apologies about earlier, but thank you.
Fine.
Thank you. Tell us about Al Hurriya, actually. I have heard about them before, so tell us a bit more.
Of course. So thank you for having us today. So Al Hurriya has been up and running since 2014. So over a decade of our time here as a charity. We are a peer-led and culturally specific service. So we say culturally specific, working with any ethnic diverse communities, and within our organization we do many projects. We do a lot from kind of the preventative work and the kind of aftercare as well. We have partnerships with Nottingham Recovery Network, hence why with Double Impact support as well with that, with the drug and alcohol and changing futures with the severe multiple disadvantage clients. But within Al Hurriya and a lot of our projects, we do a lot of school counselling therapy as well, so therapeutic counselling. We do domestic violence, sexual violence. We do children affected by domestic abuse. We do a mentoring service, but within our counselling, so it's very niche in terms of the different projects. We work with asylum seekers and the integration, but kind of where we fit in with the gambling harms, we've been doing that for over 3 to 4 years now, and oversee Nottingham and Derby. So Al Hurriya has expanded over to Derby for the last, I'd say, 4 to 5 years. And within the gambling harms, we've found, especially with the work we do and what we provide, with the family support, the mentoring and the counselling specific for gambling harms in our communities, we relate to that peer-led, but that cultural element as well. Having that understanding, the empathy, the kind of breaking down those barriers, breaking down kind of the understanding of that support. So it's kind of a wraparound support for them with gambling harms, because we've found that it comes hand in hand with their mental health as well. So that's where Al fits in. But we do many different projects and services, and we reach out.
Thank you actually sharing that, so our listeners will know that it's a lot of support there.
Yes.
And you mentioned about it's one-to-one as probably like a workshop, so you can sit in a group setting, whatever is more better for them, especially with when you said different culture, different background. I think that connection is quite important, because depending on our listeners, I'm sure whoever they are, they will find some sort of connection, because it's quite diverse, as you mentioned. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just before we go on with the rest of the show, I did want to kind of give a pre-warning to say that we will be talking about topics that are quite sensitive, including the gambling harm and mental health. If you are struggling or know someone affected by these issues, look after yourself and know about the support is available. And that's what we are here for, so we can kind of give you more information what is available locally around you. So we will go with Bryony. Tell us a bit more about what is gambling harm.
So often we think that sort of the harm that's caused by gambling is mostly financial. So obviously people can lose huge amounts of money from gambling, but we also see that harm affects them in lots of other areas of their lives as well. So obviously mental health and well-being, like we're talking about today, but also impacts on their relationships, their family, their job and education, so their ability to be productive at work, and it might, gambling can be a really big distraction for those things. We can see their links to crime related to gambling, and also impacts on their physical health as well. So not just their mental health and well-being, but how they look after themselves physically as well. Gambling can have a knock-on impact on all of those things. And people can be affected by gambling harm even if they aren't gambling themselves. So we often see that people, the relationships that are closest to them and their family members can often feel sort of the effects of gambling harm as well, even if they're not gambling directly themselves.
Absolutely. And I think this is where it's more harder, because you want to help and support that person, but know that you are still impacted by it. Would you say there's any certain type of a group do you think is a bit more vulnerable than the others, or would you say it's quite varied?
It really varies, and we know that children and young people can be really affected by gambling harm, and even if, again, they're not gambling themselves, it might be affected by people around them, but it really varies depending on how they're gambling, what else is going on in their life at that time. That can really impact how someone experiences gambling harm, and it really doesn't matter sort of how much somebody is gambling or how they're gambling. Everyone can be affected by gambling harm,
no, absolutely, because it's not just how you mentioned, it's not just individual, it's the people around you that gets impacted. My next question will be to all of you. How does gambling harm affect mental health, would you say?
I'll start first. I think we've kind of what we've seen, in terms of, like I said, working with our communities, we're definitely diverse. Mental health, and we were talking about coming hand in hand. But what we've found is, especially with gambling harms, it's not in the forefront of their mind. They're not thinking about kind of, I've got a gambling issue. This is the severity of it. It's kind of breaking it down when they're kind of, if they're alcohol use, for example, drug use, and it's kind of understanding the hand-in-hand impact and how that is impacting them mentally, the isolation, the ostracization from the communities. They don't want to go and open up with the other community members, their family members, because of the shame, the stigma. Then that ripples, in terms of their mental health even further. And within, we become more withdrawn. We found, with suicidal ideation is quite intense, with kind of to the crisis point of their kind of mental health. And we found where when we're doing all that preventative work and kind of doing a lot around the hidden harm, but also having the dialogue of the communication around gambling harms and how that can spiral out of control. It's just kind of bringing it back and sort of, especially coming from a peer-led element, that you're not alone. It's not just happening to yourself. So, it's not just saying putting the shame to one side, it's actually listening to their story, but them listening to us as well, relate, and they kind of connect, and that connection is able to kind of emphasize more of that mental health and kind of open up more about their mental health as well.
Yes,
A lot of
definitely.
communities are very unaware, especially when we get referrals in for counselling, and they're kind of, well, what does that mean? What is counselling? Because again, they're very used to kind of going, through the mosques, or going to a spiritualist, or saying, right, it's something related to black magic. It's just, mental health is going to is impacted by that. So it's kind of breaking that down and making them understand, educating them, re-educating. I think it's important.
No, definitely, and I can understand where you're coming from, because it comes down to the belief, isn't it? So having a belief to say that if you've been brought up in a way that you will believe that mental health is a sign of weakness, having a poor mental health, you will think the world around you in this way, that I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to come across weak. But really, truly, it's a part of strength, because even me being in that field as well, I think it takes a lot of being courageous to be that vulnerable with someone, and it can really help you with the core element of where it can lead to gambling or addiction. What would you say your experience with Claire? What would you say with your experience? What would you say when it comes to gambling? How does it affect the mental health?
Yeah, so Manjit, I've actually covered quite a lot of it there, but I think one of the biggest things I find, which has been mentioned, is the isolation. So how isolated people get from gambling, and it comes down to a number of factors, like you mentioned. People don't want to talk about it. It could be for various reasons, but it's all that secrecy, isn't it, and the shame and guilt and everything that people experience. But yeah, that isolating factor, and I think what's great about services such as ours is the peer element as well. So people get together, the social connection, how they build those relationships and that confidence in those sorts of settings.
No, absolutely. And I think even in my experience as well, I've realized the group coaching that I normally do, like workshops, and when people have spoken about it, and you'll hear someone else saying, I thought I was the only one. But actually, now everyone's sharing the experience. It turns out, actually, I'm not the only one. They are the people who probably are more worse than me. And they kind of encourage each other. And it's such a beautiful things to see. But thank you. Yeah, I think one-to-one is definitely important if someone wants to do it more personally. But as a group, again, you share, you build that connection is a brilliant way of talking about it, and hopefully, self-regulating. Bryony, would you like to say anything on that?
I think the others have covered a lot of it, but I would say, we really see that it's a bit of a two-way relationship, and that people with mental health conditions might turn to gambling as a coping mechanism to escape other stresses in their life, but equally gambling can then cause harm to mental health as well. So we sort of see this cycle really, where that impact on mental health is really compounded by the influence of gambling.
Yes, absolutely. And would you say that does the mental health might be impacting your loved ones around you?
Yeah, so definitely, and being somebody that is close to somebody that's experiencing harm from gambling can affect your own mental health as well. And often we see that those that are affected by gambling in one way or another experience sort of poor mental health outcomes compared to the rest of the population. And there's things like emotional harm, so impact to your mental health and well-being, your mood, your sleep, but also implications for sort of your relationship and how you might communicate with that person, or the trust within that relationship, but then also the knock-on impact of sort of the financial harms caused by gambling as well, and how that can have sort of an impact on families and sort of the financial stability that they might have within their home. And you might, if you're affected by somebody else's gambling, you might be experience a range of different emotions. It might be fear, it might be anxiety, anger, guilt, or hopelessness at not being able to provide the support that you want to provide.
Yes.
And there's that isolation element as well. Sometimes it feels like you're the only one that's experiencing those harms, but it's just a reminder sort of that Claire and Manji have said, there is support, and there's other people going through it as well, so you're not on your own.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And how would you say, how can someone recognize that gambling might be impacting their mental health? Is there any signs, would you say, or something that you would like to add a few words?
Yeah, I think obviously gambling can be really hidden. It's not always obvious that somebody is experiencing gambling harm, particularly if they're gambling often online. And like we've already sort of talked about, some of that sort of shame or stigma, feeling embarrassed to ask for help, might make it even more difficult to sort of recognize that somebody is experiencing harm and that that's impacting on their mental health and well-being. But there are a few signs that you can look out for. So you might find that people are more withdrawn, maybe from social situations, or from sort of conversations or daily activities that you'd normally take part in with them. You might find that they're having sort of mood swings, that they're feeling stressed. They might talk about having trouble sleeping, because they're concentrating on gambling or feeling distracted by sort of the gambling that they're focused on. And you find that gambling starts to become more important than work or relationships or other responsibilities. So there's lots of signs that you can look out for, but I think just remembering that gambling harms can affect anyone, so men, women, young people, children. It doesn't matter sort of what their background is. So it can be really hard to spot, but everyone can be affected, and there's a chance their mental health and well-being might be affected.
Yes. Definitely, thank you. And yes, some of the signs that you mentioned are definitely something to look out for, like isolation and not having communications. Claire, what would you say at Time Out? How does the support you provide for people experiencing gambling harm help people with their mental health?
Yeah, so Time Out and Double Impact, in fact, we work in a strength-based way. So what that means is we try to focus on people's strengths. So that could be, building their confidence, their self-esteem, their social interactions, those sorts of things, which in turn can help people, to feel less lonely, to have that confidence in a different kind of setting, especially if they're isolated. So it's focusing on people's, attributes. So what strengths do they have in them that can support them in recovery? So it's all about building that kind of that great connection with yourself. So building what we call recovery capital. So what things can people draw on in their own lives that they already have that can help them to develop a sustainable recovery from gambling. There's we do a lot of work around supporting people to kind of for self-management, so to help people to empower people to kind of build their own recovery through working with plans and things like that.
So basically empowering them with the good things that they have, so the strength that they have, kind of enhancing them basically. I like the sound of that, definitely, because we tend to do a lot of life coaching that, so that sounds brilliant. And it's same thing to you, Manjit. How does it support you provide for people experiencing gambling harm help with their mental health, would you say?
Yeah, obviously, with our gambling harm service projects that we do and offer with the counselling support and the family support and mentoring, I kind of, what we were saying, the wraparound is really important, but kind of really going in with the communities, talking to the communities, talking to the local mosques that we go to, the temples, Sikh temple, Hindu temple, churches even, and kind of drawing those conversations, having that ad hoc conversation about gambling harms, educating them and offering workshops, and kind of then from that stemming off to kind of one-on-one if anyone wants that support. So it's kind of you have to build that trust in the community, and that's a very important element. So having that trust is kind of that regular occurrence going. It's not just by sort of, look, I'm here, but what kind of topics we talk about. For example, we do a lot of for the past 2 years now, interactions with the Pakistani Community Centre over in Derby, and it's over 100 to 150 women, and from that they've engaged so well, very positive, because they're regular faces that they know. They talk about around budgeting, how to sort of manage monies, accounts, because they've realized that the partner or someone who's been affected by gambling harms has opened up multiple accounts or credit cards. Kind of giving them all the awareness and education is so important. But coming back from that, kind of when someone does identify and wants the support, we're able to offer that counselling and that therapeutic one-on-one, and giving them those tools to implement with their mental health kind of alongside that, and being able to kind of have that kind of aftercare as well, so you're not alone. So we're looking at other groups, for example, like you've got your Gambling Anonymous. We have a mutual aid cultural specific group as well, what Al Huraya offer. So it doesn't feel like they have to go to a GA group. They can have a cultural specific because of the language, the connection, the understanding, and they feel safe. And then also from that, what we've also implemented, especially with mental health, is we've done a lot of research, and we've implemented a trauma toolkit. So that toolkit is very, very important to those communities, but also mainstream services, to work with the cultural communities and cultural diverse communities that we work with. You can't always do it all the time on your own, if that makes sense. It's kind of it's giving the tools and having that implemented as well, but alongside with the mental health.
No, that's very reassuring. I mean, with the both way that you guys have said that, this is more of a solution based, and it's about creating that safe space for people to kind of, it could be anonymously, which is actually a great idea, that they still feel safe to open up and still get the help. It's amazing to hear that what kind of approaches we have got available. Would you say, Claire, that the recovery, because we have, I believe, the recovery timeout, how does recovery support mental health and well-being, and how getting help leads to better mental health?
So without covering, I suppose, what's already been covered, I suppose exactly. it kind of, it's about enhancing someone's quality of life, and what we kind of find is people with addictions, kind of, they have a great skill set, and we always kind of talk about, if you could put this much effort into something positive, use your strengths, what can we use your strengths for, in a positive way, it's a better quality of life. We can support people, referring them with housing, financial, the side of things, employment, training, volunteering. It's all about kind of building that self-esteem, those skills, and that quality of life that people might be lacking. And a lot of that, I think, like we mentioned earlier, comes with that connection. And if someone's isolated in gambling, even getting into a group or a one-to-one, they're making that connection and building those positive kind of experiences that can help them to recover.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. So thank you. That was actually good to hear about the referral, which just before we wrap up, I would like to hear from Bryony. tell us how to reach out. So can you do self-referral, or do you need to be referred by someone, or what kind of support is available and where people can actually go?
Yeah, so there's a whole range of support available in Nottingham City. We'd suggest you search gambling support on asklion.co.uk, and that details all of the support that's available in the city, but also further afield. So obviously we have Double Impact and Al Horea. We also have an NHS East Midlands gambling service based over in Derbyshire, but that will support people in Nottingham. We also have GamCare and lots of other organisations that will provide different types of support at whatever journey you are, or at whatever point in your journey you are around seeking support for gambling harm. Obviously, if you're particularly experiencing harm or trouble with your mental health and well-being, there's also some specific mental health support organisations. We've got Talking Therapies in the city, but also our Not Alone resource, which provides lots of information around mental health and well-being, and really just emphasise that support is often free and confidential, so you don't need to worry about any of that sort of shame or guilt that you might experience as a consequence of your gambling. Anyone of these organisations is open to helping you as much as they can, and there's no wrong door to find support. So talk to someone that you trust and make that first step.
Definitely. And I think that's what it is. When you make a first step, then it's the encouragement that you had to go through that, but everything starts to fall in its place. Thank you for sharing that. Talking Therapy and Ask Lions. We will be going through that again in a bit. And before we finish, if you want to find out more, there is a great opportunity coming up. The Money and Mental Health Community Roadshow will be at the Barbers Mill Community Centre, Crimea Institute, on Wednesday, 26th of November at 5:30 p.m. Everyone is welcome. If you also have the chance, you will get the chance to hear about these local services that's providing the extra support. You'll be able to have a chat with them directly there, and whether it's in Nottingham Hall or in the city. And if you want for more information at any time, you can visit the Time Out and Al Horea website to learn more about the services they offer. Again, it is the Al Horea. Would you like to just mention the website, what it is, and then the Time Out as well?
Yeah, so Al Horea website, obviously just www.alhorea.org. Do visit our website. There's a telephone number, direct number as well, so please call in, or there is a drop-down info referral as well that you can do straight from the website that comes to our info inbox, where we pick up inquiries or referrals from professionals and self as well. So anyone who would like support for any of our services, not just gambling harms, but also linked with mental health, especially domestic violence comes hand in hand, but addiction and trauma. So please, do get in contact, and they can do a self-referral as well.
Thank you. And Time Out, Claire.
Yeah, so just visit the website timeout.org.uk. Similar. It's got a referral option, so you can send an email. The telephone number's on there. Send an email or give us a call, send us a message. Like we said earlier, it's all confidential. Always open to referrals. So.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. It's good to hear that you can self-refer as well. So you don't. It's confidential. Thank you so much, Bryony, Claire, and Manjit. It was amazing to have you guys here. Thank you for all the information support that our listener needed about this topic, as well as generally mental health, the purpose of the show. So thank you, and it was a pleasure to have you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, Allah has a ways of guiding us and showing us the pathways. If you are struggling and if you find that there's no one to talk to or open up to, alhamdulillah, from Allah, there's a ways that these pathways gets opened up to us, where we can reach out and get that support. Again, where we were talking about is the beliefs, and alhamdulillah, especially if you are connected with your religion, your faith, places like this where there are connection, there are people like you who can understand your background, as well as to tell you how we can actually process that, not just as a physical, but actually spiritually as well. So thank you so much, listeners. Again, it's a pleasure to be here and talk about something so important. Alhamdulillah, and I see you guys next week. Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum. This is Sari Sawa. Every Thursday at 12 p.m., join me right here on Radio Dawn for The Inner Journey. A space where faith meets healing and science meets the soul. As a hypnotherapist and a life coach, I'll take you through powerful conversations, reflections, and tools to help you overcome challenges, find balance, and reconnect with your true self. So tune in every Thursday at 12 p.m. for the Inner Journey. With me, Sari Sawa, only on Radio Dawn. Your community, your voice, your connections.